Welcome to the Leader Mentality Show with Rob Clemens. We are live at the McLeod Health Foundation here in Little River, South Carolina. And I have a special guest today. But before we get started, I do want to thank you, our sponsors of Coastal Marketing Graphics. Coastal Marketing Graphics for all your marketing apparel needs. If you guys need any kind of gear for your company, check out Coastal Marketing Graphics. And as we get started, I like to always talk about a theme. Everybody knows, if you listen to the Leader Mentality Show, that leadership has many different layers. Leadership is not about being in charge of people and bossing them around. It's not about getting to the top and then just looking and resting on your laurels, but rather leadership is a spirit from within. And that's why everybody at your organization, whatever it could be exhibiting leadership. And we have several layers of leadership, but today we're going to talk about one of the most important ones, which is altruism. And the definition, when you look at it in Webster's dictionary, of altruism is the belief in or practice of selfless concern for the well-being of others. And I think as we go out in our days, if you're a manager, if you're a player on your team, and I don't even just mean the people at the top, but I mean people from any layer, look at the well-being of the others. How do you change others for the better? And how do you go about your day where you're not just looking at how you can help yourself during the day, but help others and what comes back to you from doing so. So we're going to get started with this with my guest for today. And I felt like when we talk about altruism, nobody could be better than this person to speak to us. So welcome to the show, Christina Jackson. She is the director of McLeod Health Foundation. Good to have you.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you for this opportunity.
Well, I mean, my gosh, I've been so excited to have you potentially on the show for a while. McLeod's been doing so many amazing things. I mean, what all have you been up to?
Wow. Where do we start? So, as the director of the McLeod Health Foundation, it's my role to lead here at the coast. Mm-hmm. And so we have our 3 campuses, Lower Seacoast and Carolina Forest. We have a lot of new growth there. So we oversee that area, how the foundation can play a role in supporting the hospital system. We're planning our 4th annual Jockeys and Juleps event, which is our Kentucky Derby themed event. That's on May 4th. We're at a new venue this year over in Calabash. So really excited about everything we have going on.
Man, Jockeys and Juleps. Mm-hmm. So what's that all about? Tell us what a day at that event is like. You've been doing it for a few years, right?
Sure. So again, it's our 4th annual. All proceeds will support our new comprehensive cancer care center located here at McLeod Seacoast. Really excited about that. It's a derby themed event. Mm-hmm. Men wear their bow ties, women wear their nice hats, their fascinators. We have a strolling dinner, a VIP cocktail hour, silent auction. We raffle a buggy of wine, and it's just a great event. People in this area love to come out and support McLeod Health.
This is going to sound like a funny question, but there are actually jockeys and horses out there?
Well, no, not actually. For liability reasons, we can't have the horses on the grounds, but we probably will air the Derby race because it is the day of the Derby. Mm-hmm. And we also give recognition to all of our sponsors who have been so supportive for the McLeod Health Foundation over the years and continue to support this event as well.
Wow, that's amazing event. Now, you've got a number of sponsors. How do sponsors get involved with this program?
Sure. So a lot of our sponsors have been involved with McLeod Health and the foundation, whether they're board members, they've been through McLeod Fellows, as you mentioned, earlier. And so it's just our friends and our ambassadors in the community who want to be a part of this and they want to support McLeod Health.
I mean, to me, the beautiful thing about it, and you mentioned McLeod Fellows, which yours truly is one, of course, so we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But the thing I really wanted to get into is, why is this so important? I mean, obviously, if you're a business, it's a great way to get your name out into the public with well-to-do people. So you're looking to sponsor your business. That's a big thing. But you're raising money. I mean, how much money are you hoping to raise from this, and what is it used for?
Sure. So we have set a goal of $140,000 that we hope to raise from this event. Currently, we're at about $135,000 just in sponsorships.
Man.
Our ticket sales are moving now. We have 4 weeks out before the event. Usually we have over 200 people at this event. I think when you ask the question about why people want to be a part of this, some people, it's a personal journey that they've had with cancer themselves. They've lost a loved one, or they've even gone through that as well. And they want to give back to their community. And that's really important for them.
Yeah, I can see that. One thing about the entire foundation, McLeod Health Foundation, is that this is people who have sometimes just experienced something. And I think many of the people in society have got an experience with cancer, whether it was a family member or a dear friend, maybe you yourself. And it's such a thing that we need to sometimes remember there's somebody out there struggling every single day, and what could you do to give back and help and show something. But even better, you get to have some fun at the event. So it's a win-win, right?
Right. And what do we say? Excitement is contagious.
Yes.
And so we're excited. We're so happy to have this event and what this new cancer center will do for our area.
Well, let's talk about the cancer center a little bit. You've talked about a lot of times that it's a comprehensive cancer center. So how is that different when it gets started than what you have currently going on?
Sure. So when we talk about comprehensive, we mean that all services will be located under one area. So you will have your radiation oncology, your chemotherapy, your genetic counseling, your lung screenings, your breast health services. Everything will be in this one center. What we have found when we have talked to people who have been through this journey, they had to drive 40 days to one area to get their treatment back and forth. Or they had to drive to one end of the beach for chemotherapy, the other end of the beach for some type of treatment. So our services are very fragmented at this point, which is really unfair to our patients. Now everything can be done under one location.
You know what's so cool about this, Christina, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I believe that a lot of times businesses have trouble because they are focused so much within. And part of the reason I call this the Leader Mentality Show is I believe that everything we do that's traditionally going to be successful in life has to do with what other people need, not what you yourself need. And so when you talk about the fragmented services, I think there's businesses across America need to look at this as a thing. Do I want to have to go to one place for this and one place for that? What if within one spot I could be that all-purpose person for that customer, and at the same time being a specialist in all those. So I think that's huge.
That's right. So you have all your specialists in one location, communication across the board between your physicians, wherever they may be located. Whether it's another healthcare system, but they're communicating with McLeod Health as well. It's just so important to provide that comprehensive piece for our patients.
No doubt. Who was it? And I know anytime you get into a huge organization like McLeod, there's going to be a number of people that are involved with every type of thing like this, any undertaking. But was this the brainchild of any one person? If you were going to say this came from a certain spot to have this comprehensive cancer center?
Well, I don't know if it was just one person. I do know that McLeod Health is very strategic in figuring out what is needed, what is the best in healthcare that's needed for our patients in this area. And so I think probably many people sat down together and figured out this plan and knew that this was needed. With the growth coming to this area, knew that this would be needed in our area.
Talk about growth, so I don't know if you saw this, but recently Myrtle Beach was named, I think for the third year in a row, I lose track after a while, as the fastest growing area in the country. So we do have a huge amount of people moving to this area. And when we say Myrtle Beach, if you're listening from outside of the area, I mean, we got listeners in Germany right now. But this is a spot where you hear Myrtle Beach, but all around Myrtle Beach it's growing. And Myrtle Beach is kind of packing out, and now you have places like Little River, where we're at today, Longs, Loris. These are the next places of growth. McLeod saw that coming in. What are some of the things that McLeod did to kind of pivot and make sure they're handling this type of volume?
So I think it's a challenge for any healthcare system trying to keep up with the growth in the area, especially in the entire coastal region. So really being strategic in where they place services, whether that's at McLeod Loris, where you have your dialysis access center. We have patients coming from 2 to 3 hours away to access that center. Our labor and delivery services in McLeod Loris. And all this is based on the demographics, the age of the population. So we like to say here at Seacoast, we have the hearts and hips, cardiology, orthopedics, down here. We also have our Carolina Forest campus where we will be building a hospital. We will be moving forward. Our groundbreaking is in April.
Nice.
We'll have a 48-bed hospital, and they're already being strategic about bed number 49.
I was going to say, you have to
Yes,
down in Carolina
yes.
Forest, because no matter how big it is, it just keeps getting bigger.
Right,
and so you
right.
do have to be ahead of it. I think this is another important leadership strategy. I feel like a lot of times when you're on the other side of the fence, and I'm talking about the side that isn't involved with the planning, we look at this stuff and we don't realize how much work went into the pre-planning of everything that's being done. Hopefully your company, your basketball team, your football team, your restaurant, whatever you're running, is doing the same amount of pre-thought as to what needs to be done for your future. We all talk about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. With the Health Foundation, you just mentioned that you look at the population and maybe the age of the population and what they need. How often are those types of studies done?
So I would, that's done by our senior leadership with McLeod Health, and I would say that with the growth here and what they're expecting, they're doing that probably weekly.
Wow.
I would think they're looking at that. McLeod's focus moving forward is to make sure we're providing the best in healthcare for the entire coastal region, and that is excellent service, patient satisfaction, and that's what it's about.
Yeah, that's very cool. What would you say is the biggest difference in McLeod and everything right now than if we were to zoom back, let's say 5 years ago? What would you say would be the biggest thing that you've noticed?
I think if you would ask Monica Vahey, who is our CEO of McLeod Seacoast, she would tell you that 5 or 6 years ago, would we be growing like we are? And she would say no, but now it's a totally different story. We're looking at all different areas along the coastal region to see how we can provide that best health care.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me. What's your most exciting part of a daily, just coming into work daily?
I think for me, my passion is helping people, like you talked about in the very beginning, about being selfless, and it's about our patients. It's about what they need and how can we make that experience better for them.
One of the things I found is again, we went through the Fellows program, and we'll talk about that in a minute because I'd love to hear more about how this got started. But as a McLeod Fellow, we had the opportunity in this past year, and I say we, Christina heads it up. I was just one of the people learning, but I found out that as we heard from the leadership at the McLeod Foundation, the McLeod Health all around, there was such a commitment to truly helping people. And I mean this, so often we question, are people really looking out for our best interest? And I always talk about, you need to have people in your life that you feel like if they're giving you advice, they're giving it to you for your best interest, not because they secretly want to see you fail. And I can tell you, to the person that came in and spoke to us, there was this belief behind the scenes, like we can always do better. If we're not doing great, we want to know. When we are doing great, we want to know so that we can do more of that. And I remember just talk of, look, if something's not going right, here's my phone. The CEO gave us her phone number and said, hey, call us if it happens. And I just felt like that was a powerful message, and that goes down to the whole culture or the organization. Would you say that's kind of what you feel like to the person out here?
I agree 100%. That's when you mentioned the CEO, who was Donna Isgett, giving out her cell phone number. A very personable approach, very transparent. And Donna, her slogan is, we are local people caring for local people.
Yeah. Well, to me, when I think about Donna, and I wasn't sure if I should say her name, but so I'm glad you said it, because it was very powerful that she said that. But I think that a huge part of running any good company is trust. Having customers, it's trust. We have to trust each other from top to bottom. And the message I got when she gave us that cell phone was, I'm not running away from anything. If you guys need something, I want to be there. And she's not hiding behind some curtain, playing the CEO role. So you want to talk about leadership? That was great leadership.
Right. Well, as the director of the McLeod Health Foundation, you have to trust in me that what I'm telling you is true and genuine, right? And that I am making the best representation of McLeod Health. Yeah,
absolutely. We're going to pick it up just like nothing left off. We'll cut all that out. So, Christina, let's go back to the Fellows program. To me, when I was first nominated, the first thing I thought was, who did it? The next thing I thought was, well, it's a big honor. I really appreciated that somebody thought enough of me to invite me into the program. And the third thing I thought as I was beginning to learn about it is what a genius program it was. So could you tell us a little bit about how did this program get founded? What's the purpose? Things like that.
So McLeod Fellows actually started in Florence at our Medical Regional Center there. The program started here in 2016. So this is our 8th class, I think, that we're going on. And we probably have had about 100 fellows go through the program now. Really excited for this area to have this program because it's that awareness piece that I think we've been missing. So it's helping us educate the entire coastal region. What is McLeod Health doing for our people, our local communities? What is the role of the McLeod Health Foundation? You know, I have a lot of people say to me, well, I didn't ever think a hospital would need money, or I didn't know a hospital could be a nonprofit, right? Well, when you go through this program, you really see behind the scenes, which is what we tell people when we invite them. You have a behind the scenes look that the general public does not see, does not understand. And I think when we met, we talked about that, and even the financial piece behind it. You said you understood that a lot more since going through McLeod Fellows. So it's really just an educational program that gives you, the people, the opportunity to see what we are doing behind the scenes. We also have physicians who will present. I mean, who would think physicians would stand up in front of people and present, right?
Yeah.
Well, they love it. So they love educating people about what the services are. And, you know, it's a 6-month program. Would love to do it longer. So there's just a lot of pieces that you touch on, but there's a lot more behind the scenes as well.
Well, I mean, when we went through the program, it was really a great breakdown of what's going on at McLeod in general. We had a marketing piece to it. There was an organizational piece. There was an employee satisfaction piece. There was a financial piece. And of course, lots of education on what the doctors and people are doing. And it was great to see the spirit of everybody. Like, there was a general underlying, like, belief in what people are doing here, and I thought that was really, really cool. And we heard from doctors, and one of the things I told you before is I said, we hear about heart issues a lot of times. You know, my mother personally has had some heart issues over the years, and you hear about these things that are being done. I got a balloon, I got a stent, I got, you know, whatever it was, you know, and we never really understood it. But when you have a doctor come in and put it up on a screen and say, hey, here's what I'm doing when I do that, that was a lot of fun for me. And I thought the program was really smart, Christina, because now I'm out telling people about, did you know McLeod does this? And it was funny because, like, that was my big takeaway. I've become like a little, if you ever catch me off the camera and people know this, I'll be like, did you know that McLeod has a kidney center? And, you know,
so now you're that ambassador for McLeod Health, which is what we want to see happen. We want you to be connected with us. Our very last class, we do that puzzle that shows every hospital system in McLeod Health. And it talks about now you are the piece of the puzzle and you are connected to McLeod Health. Oh, yeah, very cool stuff. And I'm extra connected. I don't know if I had told you this. I was born in McLeod in Florence. So, hey, I think I get some kind of extra star on my shirt for that. Or I don't know. That is not true. But, well, as far as you talked about, this is an awareness piece for the area. And before I get into this question, I will say, when I was on the outside looking in, a lot of times we've all paid doctor bills. I have a wife that has had plenty of medical concerns over the years, and you spend all this money and you're thinking, man, these hospitals must be making all this money, these healthcare facilities. And at the end of the day, it's really not about making that much money. I mean, is that a fair assessment? That's a fair assessment. I can tell you, people don't realize the cost of equipment. So the foundation is currently in a campaign to raise $2 million for a PET CT scan that will go in the new cancer center. Currently, we have a mobile one that comes 2 days a week, can only see 8 patients a day. Wow. So we know with the population coming to this area, the growth is going to be tremendous. We knew that the foundation needed to be a part of this campaign, and so that's where we created the campaign that we would actually raise funds for the PET CT scan, which is a life-saving piece of equipment to detect where cancer is, right? So the cost of that equipment is a little over $2 million.
I mean, that's a lot of money, you know. So when you guys are raising money and through the foundation and everything, just remember, if you're out there and you're considering, where do I want to, you know, make a difference in the world, I think that's a great place to start.
And I think remembering that we're the only healthcare system that provides free treatment for cancer patients if they're underinsured or non-insured. And I think that's so important.
I think that is extremely important. And it's important to support it in general. Look, we're a community, and anywhere where you're listening, we happen to be talking about Myrtle Beach and surrounding areas, but whatever community you're in, you're all more connected than you believe.
That's right.
And it comes down to the road system and your police officers and your firefighters and your businesses and what they're helping people with. And so it's very, very important to be connected and understand that everything you do can make a difference for the next person.
And I think about our HOPE program, our Helping Oncology Patients Every Day, where we're meeting the specific needs of our patients, whether that's medication, transportation, nutrition, whatever that patient may need. We see a lot of patients in this area who have no support network. They have nobody to bring them back and forth for their cancer treatments. So we provide gas vouchers, anything to help that patient continue that treatment, because when you stop, it's like starting back over with your treatment.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's very easy for us in our day-to-day life to get very wrapped up in what our own challenges are. And sometimes when you see that person and you actually see them firsthand and you realize this is a person in trouble and they have nobody else to help them. One thing I love about Americans, and I'm saying Americans because we live in America, so I can't say other countries, but is that we truly are an altruistic people. You see these national disasters that happen, and a lot of times people are gladly willing to share their money. So sometimes it becomes the awareness, just let people know this is a place that you might need to help. Talk about a little bit more of that awareness piece. What are some of the other things that you feel like are misconceptions that the McLeod Fellows program is hoping to help get awareness out about?
Well, I think just what you talked about, that financial piece, understanding that as we went through a period of time with COVID, very scary time for healthcare systems as well as everybody, not knowing how we would come out from that. When you're used to being in a 7 to 8% margin and now you are just at a 1% margin, and being in the red for so long. So I think McLeod Fellows really helps break down that financial piece of it. And when we hear from Donna Isgett and Leslie McGee, who come down and they talk about that piece, the overall structure, I just think it's important for people to understand that. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, huge stuff for sure. Well, we could talk about that all day. I want to learn a little bit about your journey. A lot of times people are listening, and I'm talking to people who are influencers in their community, and we all want to be influencers and influential people. It's important sometimes to hear the journey. So for yourself, coming to McLeod Health Foundation, you're the director. How did you get here? I mean, take us back and tell us how you got to this role.
So it's kind of a funny story. I was born in Burlington, North Carolina. My family is from the Loris area, so I've been back since elementary school. I might as well be a native, right?
Right.
And so I knew early on that I wanted to help people. I wanted to make a difference. I think when we're in our 20s, we all want to save the world, right? Which one step at a time, if you make a difference in one person's life, then you've planted a seed, which is important for me. So, in college, I knew that I wanted to be in the human services field. I worked for the Department of Social Services for about 10 years, but I just knew that was not where I wanted to stay. I was not fulfilled at that point. So I left, went to North Carolina, worked for a mentoring service where I supervised technicians who work with physically and mentally challenged adults and children in different settings. And I received a call from Sea Haven one day asking if I'd be interested in just seeing what that position was about for the CEO. Well, I ended up at Sea Haven for 15 years where we worked with homeless runaway teenagers along the Grand Strand, had 5 programs where we were really trying to help young people get off the streets, become productive individuals, equip them with the tools and the choices to make the decisions, and be that support network for them. And then my shelter actually used to be beside McLeod Health. It was an old beach house. We knew one day we were going to have to do something different, so we purchased some property in this area. And McLeod Health and we came together, looked at blueprints. We knew that McLeod would be expanding in the area, so McLeod actually purchased that property. We built a new shelter home in the area. And a couple of years later, I received a call from McLeod Health Foundation, and they said they had a position they were interested in talking to me about. And so here I am, almost 5 years later.
Man, that is so cool.
Interesting journey.
Well,
yes,
hey,
yes.
Interesting journey, and we talked about altruism to start the show. Honestly, you've committed your life to helping others. If you don't mind, I want to talk about that. You said runaway teens.
Right.
You guys were helping. Was there ever something that stood out to you of a real success story there? That I'm sure there were tons of success stories, but anything stand out to you that you were like, man, this is one you were proud of?
Right. It was a very rewarding but very challenging position to be in, and not everybody was successful, no matter how hard you tried. So you talk about burnout, you talk about trying to keep your staff motivated and encouraged. I had 23 employees, and it was hard. Human services is not an easy field to be in. I think one thing that stands out for me was our very first baby that was born in the program, and he's probably almost 10 years old now.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget, it was a pregnant mother and boyfriend living on the streets. Baby was born, taken into custody, but we worked with that mother to get her child back, reconnected her with family in Ohio, flew her back home where she became productive. She went back to school, started raising her child, and we had a graduation ceremony, and we wanted her to be a part of it in our transitional living. So we flew her back to the area. She brought her child, who was probably 2 years old at the time. We got to see him, and it was just a great experience to know that we made a difference in that person's life.
Man, I'll tell you what, if you can change one life like that, I truly believe it's all worth it, because what's a life worth, you know?
That's
and
right.
Sometimes, I know what you mean, we go through, and all people who are in management positions have been guilty of this. You know, you want the quick fix. You want to tell somebody something, it's like, how come they're not fixing themselves? And there's years of conditioning that got somebody to where they are. So, but that one success story amongst, even if it's 1 out of 10, it's well worth it. So very cool. That's such a sweet story, and I love that. What about locally here at McLeod? Is there anything that you'd like to share with us that you're excited about that you've been doing?
Sure. So I think it goes back to the HOPE program that I talked about earlier. The McLeod Foundation had the opportunity to approve a grant for our pet therapy program through our volunteer services. So every year we get to see the pets come through the hospital with their Halloween costumes, their Christmas. I mean, it's just, what CEOs would allow that to happen in the hospital system, right?
Right.
It's all about the patient experience. So knowing that patients who have just been diagnosed with cancer, they're full of emotions, they're scared, they don't know what to expect. We bring that pet in, they're so focused on that pet, they don't even know when they start the treatment. And to me, that's just valuable.
It's such an amazing thing. And so much about, I would believe about cancer is mindset. You know, it's ultimately to have a positive mindset going into it, because no matter what happens, it won't help you to be just struggling in the dumps with it. And it's natural. People are going to feel away. But the more that we can bring some positivity in their life.
Focus on the mental well-being of it.
Yeah. And you're an animal person, right?
I am.
Do you have dogs?
I did. We just lost our 16-year-old Dotson. She was like one of our children. But I'm ready for another one. My husband's not quite there yet.
Oh my gosh! Well, sometimes it takes a minute, but I told people after we put down my Doberman, my wife and I, our Doberman, I told her, I said, I can't do this again. I'm done with pets. And now years later, we have two giant dogs at home. So
I'm working on him.
I'm working on him. Keep fighting the good fight.
Yes.
Well, as far as the foundation, talking about McLeod, the way this was founded. I mean, just tell us a little bit more about, you know, how did we get here, and what does the public need to know?
Sure. So the foundation was actually created in 1986. It is in our Florence area, and back in 2014 they decided that they would have the foundation here at the coast. I think because they knew the growth that was coming to this area and how much it would, be needed. So it's one system together. We have what what we call the inland, which is Florence, and then we have the coast, of course, which is the coastal region. And so, we work together as a foundation, one system. So sometimes you may have where Florence may have to help support something here, or we may have to help support something there. So again, working together as one team.
Makes a lot of sense, and people are still going back and forth. So there are times where you might have somebody that's here that you send to McLeod and Florence. So all of the areas are, synchronized in the sense of, hey, you guys handle this and you got the facility, right? So, well, cool stuff. Well, as we get towards the back half of the show, we talked about altruism already. And part of the thing that comes into altruistic ventures are we need to make sure that we get people on board. So you working in this huge organization that relies on the public to understand why they need to give money, to have employees that understand it's important to fight the good fight and let people know what's important. How do you get a huge community and a huge company like this behind one cause? Do you have any tips for people that are in leadership positions that are trying to get others to do things?
Sure. So for me, it's about the donor's story. Why do they want to give? And it's about that active listening. Just listening to why they care so much, why they're so passionate. We may assume that they want to give to one area. They may give to something totally different, right?
Yeah.
It may be based on a personal experience with the healthcare system. It may be based on losing a family member, whether it's due to cancer or whatever that terminal illness may be. But it's what they're passionate about and what they want to give to. And it's like I said earlier, you have to trust in me that I'm representing McLeod Health. Because you have to trust in something to give to it, right?
Yeah,
and
for
so
sure.
I think that's what's important. And making sure that people feel valued and they feel important.
Man, I mean, the great tips anyway. I think we always have to start with a story. You have to personalize things. And sometimes I tell this, people are asking me about public speaking. What's a good way to go about it? And I always say, start off by telling a story that the people in the room can potentially relate to.
Right.
Because people learn through stories. I believe that's why biblically you hear stories that would get told by, Jesus. And likewise, if you go to church, they tell a story and they back it up. So I think that's an important piece to whatever you're trying to do in life. Tell a story people can relate to, and then tell why it's so important. So very cool stuff. Well, Christina, I think this is such a great organization. I'm proud to have been a McLeod Fellow this year, of course, and look forward to seeing what 2024 and beyond hold. So we got the big event coming up again. Let's talk about that one more time and tell people how to get involved.
Sure. So Jockeys and Juleps, derby-themed event. You can come out, wear your hats. The men wear their bow ties. You have a chance to win some nice items on the silent auction. We'll also have a bourbon and tequila tasting as well. And again, all proceeds go to our Comprehensive Cancer Center here at McLeod Seacoast. Tickets can be purchased online at www.McLeodHealthFoundation.org. And as soon as you go to our website, there is a pop-up about Jockeys and Juleps. You just click that button and purchase those tickets.
Man, it looks like a great time.
Yes.
It's a great chance to help the community, to help the foundation, to help a fellow person. So, well done. I'm super excited about that. And thank you so much for being on the show. You've been amazing, and I hope you guys are the best for the future. So we're going to kind of wrap with that, but I do want to thank our sponsor, Coastal Marketing Graphics, where you can get all your sports apparel, team apparel, company apparel that you need. Go to Coastal Marketing Graphics, and we want to thank them. Also, thank you to the members of the Leaders List. Check them out at our QR code that you can see on the screen. And I want to leave you all off with a quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. The purpose of life is not to be happy, it is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well. And so as you're going about your day and you're thinking about other things that are going on in your life, remember to be compassionate, and remember this is bigger than you, it's bigger than I, it's about the community. So take care of yourself, be well. We'll see you all next time on the Leader Mentality Show with Rob Clemens.